Hello, I'm Josie Tipler and I'm about to do a demonstration of a dramatic sky in chalk pastel, otherwise known as soft pastels. But they're not all soft. So I'm starting off with a picture on my iPad here. I'll put a little picture in the top of the screen when we do the video back later. And this paper I'm working on is actually Canford card, coloured Canford card. So that's what I'm working on. It's a nice smooth surface. It has no discernible tooth, which some pastel papers have. I don't like having a tooth on my pastel papers. I prefer it to be smooth because I like doing smooth blends. I'm not using the texture in this. Some applications of using chalk pastel, it's perfect. You want some texture. This one, I don't. So I'm going to start off with, this is going to be my dark colour of the picture. So I'm going to start off by doing a bit of an undercoat where the sky is going to be. Just probably make it a little bit lower down actually than in the actual photograph. So this is my undercoat of white, just to be able to get the colours on the top. They're going to blend in with this initial white. So I've got this nice area of light right in the middle of the picture, where the sun is coming through the trees. So basic covering of white over the whole of where the sky is going to be. Now this is a very soft pastel. This one is a Rownery one, but I've got an even softer. That's all that's left of my even softer one. That I believe was a Schmincke, and you can see that's a bit softer. It's almost like a cream going onto the paper there. Now you'll see when I start adding some of the colours I've got in chalk pastels are a harder chalk pastel. They're not quite so soft. And so if you try and put that colour straight onto your solid surface, you're going to end up with lines appearing, which are a bit difficult to get rid of afterwards. And I want a nice smooth texture. So a little bit of white over the whole thing. Doesn't matter, there's going to be some blue showing through because a lot of this sky is blue. There's some greys in there and some creamy colours. So just a gentle blow, and I will blow that all over the microphone. Somebody's left. Okay, so we'll start off with some of this nice pale blue that we've got here. That's quite a solid, no, there we go, it's just the edge of it. So you can see that sitting on top of the white, and as I start blending that in, you'll get some of the background blue coming through as well. But it's still quite a nice pale blue. I can add more blue onto the top of it to make it even paler. Okay. So a lot of this is just about blending. This is one of my photographs, and I'm just being inspired by it. I'm not following it exactly. You can see I'm getting a nice covering of pale blue onto there. Won't worry too much about mixing into that, because that area there is actually going to be a yellowy colour. Down here there's going to be more grey. So blend in some of that area. And there's some more of the blue up here, so just for consistency I'll work on this little blue area before I go on to the rest of the sky. And again you can see it sitting on top of that white. Once I start blending it in, it will go darker because it's now mixing with the white, and you're getting some of the background colour coming through as well. So there's a nice smooth blend happening there. So this is a nice bright blue sky coming through the dramatic clouds in the picture. And down the bottom here, this bit, I put less white, less blue, so that more of this dark blue is coming through. So that's that darker area there. Now I'm going to start adding some of the greys in. There's a nice warm grey, so what I might do is put some little areas of purple into the warm grey, the grey as well, just to warm it up a little bit. And you can see there are some little edges of yellow onto these clouds as well. So that's quite a dark grey there. Blend some of that in, see how it's blending. That still looks quite nice and quite a nice warm colour, but I shall add a little bit of purple into it. Bit of purple into a grey sky, a grey cloud adds a lot of drama into it. So more grey going in here. Not worrying too much about the actual shapes of the clouds at the moment, it's just the overall shape. Blending those in. I can go back in and add some little bits of pale blue where I need them. There we go, a bit more of the darker grey there, and down in this area there's a lot more of the purple actually, so it's getting more dramatic, so I put some of that in. I need to peel a little bit of the paper off here. I use all sorts of different pastels, whatever I've got to hand. So these are all chalk pastels that I'm using. I also really like using oil pastels, but I'm not going to use them in this particular demonstration. I'm going to do another demonstration which shows how to use a little bit of both. They don't actually mix together, but you can use them both in the same picture and get a different feeling of different textures using oil pastels in the same picture as a chalk pastel. So just roughly mapping in those clouds here. It's looking like full, dirty, heavy clouds up here. Might even add a little bit of black in here over this area where it's getting a really deep stormy cloud. Okay, blend all of that lot in. There's not much of this pale blue showing, I just wanted to get some of that in to start with so I can cover it up again, as you do. Got a nice glowing bit of purple cloud there. So this is quite nice, a little bit of light popping through the cloud there. I'm not going to worry too much about this area just yet. All of this is going to be slightly different colouring as it's blending down behind the cloud, the trees. Then I'll start lifting the trees out again. So to get the little bits of drama in those clouds now, I want some more. Just going to wipe my hand off. A bit of kitchen towel. Very useful for working in pastel. I put some little hints of blue back into the clouds here. Now what I don't want to do is mix this in too much now, so I want it to be sitting on the top of the pastel that I've just applied there. So I'm just going to very gently tickle it into the clouds rather than rubbing it too much, because I still want it to sit there on the top and look like a nice pale blue. If you were to zoom in close now, I don't know if you can zoom in close, Jim. You might be able to see some of the texture of this bit of pastel I'm putting on. That's actually quite a creamy, thick texture there. That's like an overload of pastel. If I was to try and put more on there and try and blend that in, you'll find it would just, you've overloaded it. You can't really get much on there. You're just going to start lifting pastel off. And I'll show in a while how to combat that if you found an area that you started to overload. So start picking out some of these little light areas around the edges of the clouds. So it's a bit thick around the edge, and I just blend those bits back into the pale blue bit of sky, trying not to rub out the edge of that little grey bits of cloud, which I want to keep, those rough edges. And here there's some nice little edge bits in the clouds up here. This is where it gets all really exciting doing this sort of thing, because you can start adding the silver lining to the clouds in a bit, and they really start zinging out. Okay, oh, I just stepped on the dog. So I've got this nice sort of creamy colour around the edges of the clouds. So I'm going to put a bit more white in where I've got this sort of the silver lining around the edge of the clouds, or golden lining in fact. That's where it meets the blue. And then I'm going to add some of my creamy colour. This is one of the harder pastels, which is why I wanted to put the soft pastel underneath it to blend it in. You can see there it's not really sitting on the top of it, so I'm probably going to need to put a bit more white on top of that again. It's so hard, it's actually lifting off some of that pastel. So I'll see about adding a little bit more on the top if I need to. Yeah, a little bit more on there just to help blend in with that yellow. And clean hands again, and just that's very light tickling in of that bit of pastel. So I'm not doing lots and lots of smudging. I'm not trying to blend that grey into it. I'm trying to make it sit on top of that bit of grey cloud. Be very careful not to blow dust everywhere, because that is one of the problems with chalk pastels. Let's see how this works sitting on the top there. So doing that without putting any of the white underneath, it's going to be more of a dirty colour, which is actually what it looks like in that bit of cloud. That's a bit of just colour in the cloud rather than one of those sort of silver linings. And here we go. Bit more of that dirty colour in the cloud. This is a cloud about to completely cover the countryside with rain. Oh! There we go. Slightly sweaty finger now. I've actually lifted off some of the colour there. So what I'm going to do to rescue that, lift off that little bit, leave it to dry, then I go back in with that bit of grey and rescue that little bit. If I go in immediately, more likely to do more damage. Now this little piece of cloud here has actually got some lovely hints of orange in it, so I'll get some of those in as I go along. And this is those lovely golden edges to these clouds. This dirty colour up here. Okay, this point here is that little orange bit. Just going to put a little hint of orange in there. Hopefully, as I, with my dry, non-sweaty finger, blend that in, just get that little hint of the orange in that glow around the cloud. And there we go, this little golden lining around the clouds. Quick step back and see how that's looking. Yeah, that's looking dramatic. Now to add a bit more drama, need a bit more shadow and shading in there. So I'll add some more of the dark. And again, not blending the whole thing in, just blurring it in. There we go. When you start really looking in detail at the cloud, you'll see all these different bits and pieces going on in there. It's not just a flat cloud, there's lots of twists and tumbles in there. So the more contrast you can add in, the more drama you can get. A bit more dark at the top here. Keeping that little bit of purple in there. Something I didn't mention, always best to work from the opposite side to your hand. If you're left-handed, work top right down. If you're right-handed, top left down. Otherwise you're going to end up, like I did here, just leant on that bit and I've lifted off a little bit of the background colour there. So just be aware of the way that your hand moves across the work, the damage you could do, so sort of minimise the damage by working logically. Darkening up this little bit of cloud. Dry my hands off. And a bit more of the lining. I'm going to make this a bit more obvious and dramatic. Bit of artistic license here. Have that bit of sun really picking out the bottom of those clouds. I don't want to blur it in too much. I want that white to sit on the top there and be dramatic. Okay, so down here there's some darker blue clouds in the background, so I can go in with my dark blue pastel and start blending that in, or I could go in and start lifting some out, because it's the background colour is the right colour. I don't want to waste it, take it all off. Sorry, that noise was Jim yawning. Don't want to take all of the colour off because this background colour is going to be my tree colour. So I want that darkest bit to stay. Blending that in to be the background. cloud colour. Going to do a little bit more rubbing off up here. Get some dark coming through the clouds here. So again, I'm just rubbing off what's on there to reveal that dark blue at the bottom. And I could do the same up here. Just make a little shape. Take off some of that colour there. Work back to that background colour. You can see there, you've got some of that dark blue showing through. A few more little bits and pieces here, just lifting off. I think I'm going to have to go in with, I've got little bits of detail here, so I'll go in with my the dark blue there rather than trying to rub off in that bit. Got a bit more control over it. But the other thing you could use is these, the little blending sticks. And see how this works. Give it a trial. Yeah, there we go. Again, it's not putting pastel on, this is taking pastel off and revealing the blue behind. So I can get a little bit more detail of those little wispy bits of dark cloud covering over those little bits of blue sky. So yeah, I will stick to doing this rather than putting more blue pastel on the top. I was going to use the dark blue. I'll just stick to lifting off the cover, the grey colour. Okay, this little bit here, I want to be even darker. I'll come back to my purple. I've got a more bluey purple here. Let's see how that one is. That's not quite right. What's this one? Yeah, that's better. Really nice dark purple here. Doing little bits of it here to blend in. I don't just want a little bit of purple sitting in the middle there. It's going to look totally out of place. Blend some more of it into here. But you can see it's quite hard. It's quite a hard pastel. So it's leaving some lines. If I need to, I'll have to add some of the pale grey soft, the dark grey soft on top of that to blend it in a bit more, if those lines are staying there. Get my hands off. Okay. No, that's good, that's staying there. Okay, I think that's, I'm happy with that bit of sky. Thank you. This is tea from Jim. Slurp. Okay, so I'm going to do the bit of yellow that's down here before I start trying to work on the trees. So get some more white in here. This is a slightly harder white. I don't want lots and lots of powder on my paper at the moment. I want to be able to blend in without having lots of powder there. Because what I want to be able to do is add more of the yellow colour on the top and have it sit on the top, not just blend in with all of that soft powder. And of course, as you start mixing yellow with blue, you're going to get green. So I want this yellow to sit on the top of the blue rather than blending in. And at this point, it's more of that creamy colour rather than the bright yellow. Behind the trees. Right.
Should you put something on your hands before you start handling pastels?
No, have dry hands. Just clean
does it
dry
dry
hands.
your hands out?
It can dry your hands
you need
out.
to be worried if you've got a skin complaint.
You can use gloves, the sort of little surgical type gloves. A lot of people just really don't like the feel of pastel on their fingers, so you can use gloves. It's not an issue. And yeah, if you've got sensitive skin, that will protect your skin.
Do they stain?
Stain your fingers?
Yeah.
No, chalk pastel won't stain your fingers.
But oil pastels?
Oil pastels, I don't use oil pastels in the same way, so I don't tend to get oil pastels on my fingers. I use oil pastels by using the pastel itself to blend. I don't have to use my fingers at all with them, so they don't get dirty at all. What's that colour? Oh, that's a nice grey. A nice warm grey there actually, so I'm using that to blend it in. So this is just to get some of that background colour that's going to be around behind the clouds, behind the trees that I'm going to be lifting out in a minute. This isn't bright enough yet, so I want to get some of the really soft white here in this little light area. So I want it to sit on the top. It's a creamy white. And let's sit on the top of that yellow. Don't want to blend it in. And where the trees come over the top of this little white area, there's a sort of a red halo around it. I'm going to put that in after I've started working on the trees. So this is the exciting bit, doing the trees, and I'm using a battery operated rubber. This is a Jakar make battery operated eraser, and I find these easy to use. They've got a little bit here that you push forward, and as you push forward, this little bit here rotates round. This one has already lost its edge. It's a rounded edge. This is what the actual rubbers look like to start with, so you can see that one's ground down quite a lot. This is handy if you want to do some very fine lines, but not bothered about that at the moment. So this will rub off right the way back to the original colour paper. It's a brilliant tool, I love it. So this is why I didn't want to lift all of this off, because I want the trees to stand out on top. Sounds a little bit like a dentist's drill.
Don't remind me.
And just doing the silhouette of these trees.
Where'd you get them from?
This one, I bought this one online from the SAA. But I don't know where you can get them in shops. I've not seen these ones in shops. I've seen different makes, which are probably as good. I like these because the little rubbers themselves, they just pop out, they're double-ended. Some of them you'll find that the bottom there, there's a magnet which goes inside there to hold them in place. So you can only use one end of it. These are cheaper, and I get on well with them. I think why change to something more expensive than I might not get on with. So that's that bit of skyline. So I'm going to work around this little bit of glow in the sky here. very gently lift. As you can see where it's even thicker, it's like a paste of powder here. I just need to work over it a little bit more. Lift a bit more off. So there's actually a tree shape here. A lot of pastel on the end of this now, that's yellow, so just wipe the end off. Clean again. There's quite a bit of dust coming off here, so again, if you have any problem with dust, this might not be a good technique for you. Just draw the trees over the top instead. Oh, it sounds so sad. I've got some little detailed bits here, so I'm going to use the edge. You can get quite a nice fine line in there. And I'm going to swap to my other rubber. Excuse me a minute. Walk in front of you. See if this one's got any more charge in it. I think it might be my batteries are going. It's a bit better. I just need to get a little bit more off there. A bit noisier. It's not working so well. I think I need fresh batteries. So stop and get some batteries.
What are those?
AAA's.
That's it, I'm afraid to say.
Okay, Jim's going to try and find me some batteries. In the meantime, I'll just work on some of these areas up here which don't need so much detail. It could be a little bit softer. And the reason I didn't just leave all that bit blank is because I've still got some little bits of that sky showing through here in the tops of the trees. I want consistency of this background colour coming through the trees here. Nice little light areas here and there. I've got in mind there might be some in the drawer here, Jim. So that's now getting to be the edge of my skyline. That's going to be the top of the skyline there. And again, just want some of these little light bits of the sky popping through these trees here, tops of the trees. Little bits are getting everywhere. So what I could do is I could do a Facebook Live version of this, and Jim could read me out any comments or questions that people have got, and I can answer them as I'm working. So it could be like a live demonstration, question and answer session, but I can carry on working.
That's a good idea.
Isn't it?
You should do that.
I should do that.
Fancy.
Lots of these little bits of stuff everywhere. So the other thing I need is a brush. Oh, here we go. No, that's a bit hard. So
Yeah.
do a soft brush like this, and that can get rid of all of those little bits. But of course, if you're using chalk pastel, you've got loose bits of pastel here which are going to smudge in.
What you think?
So just
this
be
or
aware.
this one?
Yeah. I'll just get rid of some of those loose bits of eraser that are appearing on my picture. You can go away. Don't want you up there. Okay. Okay, I can also start taking off some of the worst of this in the bits that are going to be the tops of the trees. And here.
Any better?
Right, let's give it a whirl. Thank you. No, it's just died. Oh no. No, that's worse.
Is it?
Are they fresh batteries?
No.
Oh, okay.
And then a bike light.
No, that one's no good.
I'll find some more.
Okay. So back to this one. And again, just bits of the sky coming through here. These little yellow bits. That little sunsetty sky. Take off all that. Don't know what kind of trees these are. It doesn't look much like an oak, but I thought that was an oak. So, yeah, I can start getting back to some of the blue now. Just needed a second go. Get rid of the worst. That's better. It's coming on nicely. Or coming off nicely. Little bits of rubber are going everywhere.
Whoa!
Is this a good one now?
Yeah.
Well, it probably doesn't help that
Yeah.
the handle of that one's broken. Right, let's give it a whirl. Thank you. Probably going to work. Spin across the. Oh, look at that! Wow. Yeah, it's better.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, oh, it makes such a difference. Oh, what's going on there? It's just, it's going so fast, it's melted the rubber.
Cheers.
It's actually melting the rubber onto the board. Let's find a fresh one. There we go. Just lifted it off. Ah.
What should people do if they can't get one of these?
You can't get one of these. Use one of these. I said, try this, or go over the top with a darker pastel. Obviously, if you're going over the top with a darker pastel, you then risk the sort of the colours blending together, so you don't get such a crisp edge. But I'll show you in a minute what I will do. A little bit more detail on this.
Can you use masking?
Masking fluid.
Yeah.
I haven't done. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't, other than it might spoil the surface of the paper. Masking fluid is really intended to use on watercolour paper. So a surface like this, you may find the the masking fluid, once it's dried and you peel it off, it will take the surface off. But also there's another issue. Usually when you're taking masking fluid, you have to rub it to take it off. So you're going to rub off all your pastel. So that would only work if you're going to fix your pastel thoroughly using fixative spray. I'm not a fan of fixative spray. I don't like the smell of it. I know some people use hairspray instead.
So not a good idea then.
No, you can try it. It's always worth experimenting, isn't it? Yeah, people often ask about fixative spray, and I say just try and protect your work. Once you've done it, shake off the worst of all the dust. Protect it by putting a protective sheet of paper taped over it until you can get it to a framer's and get it framed. And then you have it framed with a gutter mount so that it's away from the glass, and so that any loose pastel just drops down into that gutter at the bottom of the mount and doesn't get stuck onto the glass. Nearly done with this bit of skyline. Ooh, it sounds so sad. Okay. That's as much as I want to do there. That looks a little bit soft. Okay. Get rid of some of those dusty bits as much as I can without getting pastel everywhere. At this point, be careful not to spit on your work.
Do you need to be careful with dust?
Dust, yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying before. If you have any breathing issues, then using chalk pastels is probably not a good idea. You can wear a face mask when you're using it. You can get a face mask. Or there are many videos on YouTube of how to make your own face mask. So if you want to use it, you could try that. Okay, so another option, if you don't have one of the rubbers and you want to get some fine detail like this, is to use chalk pastel pencils. So chalk pastel pencils, I've got Pitt pastel here, Faber Castell. This is a black one. Ideally I'd want one this sort of dark blue to do this. Let's see if this is going to work. There you go. It's a close enough blue. So the other option you can do to get your detail is to go over with a pastel pencil. Get some detail in there. Doesn't look quite right. It's too bright. I'm not going to use that. So I shall use black and do some blending in. So again, this is all about getting contrast in this picture and making it dramatic, so I'll use a little bit of black in it. So this is your option. Draw over the top. Less messy, but a lot less fun. So I'm getting some extra contrast in here by adding some black into these trees. Looks a bit pants at the moment, but I'm going to do some blending in using the blending sticks. Get some in at the top there as well. So I've got that real high contrast going on there on tops of the trees.
Could you use charcoal?
Charcoal and chalk pastel don't work so well together because it's a different medium. It's a lot harder. It's one to use really if you're using coloured pencils, graphite, that sort of thing. You might want to use charcoal with it. I don't recommend it with pastels. It doesn't mix in. You can't blend it.
And so it goes for graphite, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, but so I'm going to do another demonstration using oil pastels and chalk pastels, and you'll see I'll use various different things with that as well, including pencils. You'll see how those can combine. Right, let's do a bit of blending with my blending stick here. The reason I said use a pastel pencil rather than just a chalk pastel, because obviously you can get this a lot finer. You can sharpen it to a point and get details. But now I want to be careful not to smudge all of my little bits of yellow, bright sky. Just trying to stick to the darker areas.
Because you could use a resting stick, could you?
You could, what they're called, it's a
Something like that.
a marl stick. I do have a marl stick here, made for me by the lovely Angie. So it's just a stick with some padding on and a bit of fabric over it. So if you wanted to rest over something and you're having difficulty doing it, you can, so you're not actually resting on your work, you can use a marl stick like that. But I don't need to at the moment because I haven't done anything on here. I'm okay. So thank you, Angie, for that. Oh, and thank you, Angie, for the hair clip, which I'm sporting in my video. But I'm not wearing the spangly top. That will be in the next Milton Hyde video. Milton Hyde is our band, for those that don't know. Our folk duo. So we could even have a little bit of folk music going on in the background in this, could we? Could we have a little bit of background music? So blending this in. Now that's just going to look a little bit odd now without any dark here, so I'm going to put some dark in this bottom bit too, around this bottom area, and gradually blend it away into these bits, using a little bit of the chalk pastel pencil because that's what I've used at the top here, but the rest of it will be in chalk pastel. As you can see, it's a slightly different black, and the last thing to go on, really, other than your fine points, because it's the dirtiest and you don't want it to go everywhere. And I don't want filthy, dirty hands. I don't want to have to stop part way through this and wash my hands. So I go from sort of a lighter colours to the dark, generally, just from that point of view. So I don't have to keep stopping. I've had to wash my hands enough lately. They've started to go raw and sore. Get a bit more. So imagine we've got some more trees down the front here as well. So there's more dark down the front here. Blend all of that in. See in a minute, I'll have absolutely filthy hands. Ta-da! Filthy hands. And what I want to do is this last little bit of warmth around there, which I will use. Not quite. What's that one? Oh yes, this is my favourite pastel. A Schmincke. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Schminke.
Hold it still.
A Schmincke pastel. But look at that gorgeous colour, and it is like painting with butter. It's so soft and creamy. So a little bit of that around the edge here where there's the glow coming through those trees. And it can sit on top of the black there. And just clean off the edge of this so it's not too dirty, and try and blend that in a little bit. So it's going to blend in with the trees themselves. Rather than blending with the yellow, I want to blend it with what's around the yellow, because it's that sort of halo colour. And now a little bit of bright yellow. I'm getting a little bit of dust falling down here, just have to be careful to blow that away rather than wipe it. I don't want that yellow blending in with the black. Got cramp in my hand. Right, this is an experiment, it might not work. Yeah, it's alright. Wanted to get a bit more white in there, lighten that area up. So that is actually a slightly harder pastel. You see a lot of it's dropped down there, so just blow that away. And I think that's pretty much it. Just blending a bit more of that dark around there. That's my dramatic sky with silhouetted trees. Okay, I'll leave it at that for now, and I'll do something else tomorrow. Bye.